Rise and say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, so why we're here, gathered here, obviously, is for the to discuss the temporary location. I'll start us off. If there's any public comments that need to be stated before we get going, then now's the time to do that. If not, then we'll jump into the meeting why we need to be. Oh,
George.
Is it regards to this meeting or is it for the homeless?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll get started. This is just real quick here. Is there anybody that has any public comments, Arthur?
I see them.
Okay, Don Marie. Hello.
Don Marie Martin. I just wanted to say, now is the time, it's really hot out there. When shopping today, I already saw, I heard a dog, and earlier I heard a dog headed across from us. And I would really like for us to be on this. Some old lady I talked to said to me, well, my dog's in the car, it's fine, I'll just get a new dog if it dies.
Oh,
Yeah, she said, I've gotten a new dog every year. People like that need to be documented and never allowed to get another animal again. So could we please, because you call an officer and they're like, okay, and your point is it's a dog. That's how it's been. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to hear that again, please.
So I don't think we haven't tied down an animal control officer yet. We're on the process or something. Is that correct?
so he's in Ireland right now.
Oh.
We got some other issues to work with, but it's all gonna be fine either way. But we've handled 3 dog calls today.
Wow.
Really
Yeah.
good job with the
Wow.
radio, with the temperature gauge, temperature monitors, they contacted them as well, 3 dogs.
Right on. Thank you.
So they're all right.
Thank you.
Well,
It's
thanks.
supposed to be 107 to 109. this
That's
weekend.
what I'm worried
Yeah.
about.
Thank
Little
you.
rush is straight out of these temperatures.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. Is there any other public comments? Let's jump into the meeting. We'll get started on the meeting. Like what the presentation on this is discussing the Oberlin Road Greenway and the possible putting the encampments out there, putting the urban campsite, temporary urban campsite out there. We had that discussion last. Since then, there's obviously some issues that we wanted to discuss and see how we want to proceed forward or what we want to do on that. Probably, I guess we want to move forward on talking about the fire dangers. That's obviously why you're here. So unless everybody else has any protests against that, we'll have him go ahead and get started on just what he wants to talk about then.
So you need my name. George Jennings, I'm with the Yreka Area Fire Safe Council.
But you live in Yreka.
I live in Yreka, and I've been working with the Fire Safe Council since about 2005. And I got to say that the city has really risen to the charge here in the last several years, and Will does a great job. There's so much growth in your involvement in it, so we appreciate that a lot. Jay Perkins has been by to talk about the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and he can't be here tonight. His daughter's have a baby, so. But he wanted me to tell you that the CWPP is finished, and he's going to be bringing it to your July 6th meeting. The CWPP is a Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and in that plan, they did a lot of fire modeling all around Yreka and computer modeling of how fire would grow under certain conditions, and like early June, and then later in the year. Well, kind of later, or the conditions for later in the year right now. He did say I mentioned to Chief Lemus and discussed with the Yreka Area Fire Safety Council sponsor that among many of the city's priorities, that Butcher Hill is at the top or close to the top of the list of identified priorities of danger of wildfire, and being and really hard to stop. It's heavily fueled and would be something that would grow really fast. They have the key communication sites up there. There's a home right above the area you're talking about, and those are critical areas for communications that you don't want to see go down. And that fuel mat on that hill goes all the way to Highway 3, toward Montague. There'll be a lot of opportunities there for fuel, but that area has been identified as one of those that's really needs to get treated first. And he will be bringing that CWPP by for you to sign on the 6th. We'll let you know that. And that's from my perspective, working with the council, and we're not fire expert, but we have all the fire experts there, helping us to do all this work and trying to protect the community. And I think honestly, this is much more than a fire risk reduction move with the homeless. It's both a social problem and a fire safety issue for the entire community now. We saw what happened in Southern Oregon and Weed with the Almeida fire and Falls fire. And what I've heard from folks is that, nobody wants this problem in their neighborhood, the homeless problem. They don't want it in their neighborhood, so let's move it to some other place. Or maybe there's more homes here, so let's move where there's less homes. And really, since we haven't solved the social problem, we now have a complete Yreka problem. The whole city's at risk, honestly, because of what you've seen happen from those fires in Oregon. So the social problem now becomes part of the fire problem, and we need to solve both of them. You guys are all aware of this, I think. And hear a lot of talk about how, if this red flag time comes and the high winds come, there's nothing you can do. Well, okay, so that means you better have whatever you're gonna have done before, okay? So we're behind the 8 ball on both the social problem and the fire problem. So I guess my thought was, if these fires in the Greenway help take out these communities or a chunk of them, and they were basically went through the Greenways, why are we putting a problem into the Greenway? I'm not understanding the logic there, because at some point somebody's going to go, why, if a fire happens and it does take out a lot of the town, the city's going to go, well, who put them there? No, the city put them there. So that's what I want you to think about is, do you want to put the risk, more risk right in the Greenway? Because it seems to be a place with a lot of fuel, and it's going to carry. Fire has to have fuel. So that's my.
So addressing part of that right off the bat, because there's 2 projects. I don't know if Corey made you guys aware of what's going on. The full project, Pacific Power, where a lot of the homeless are hanging out right now at the substation below Greenhorn Dam. They're getting that fenced off here in a couple of weeks. So that encampment there is going to have to be moved. So that's one.
No, why are they getting it fixed off? What's the fencing off?
Because that's their property.
Oh, okay.
And it actually is endangering our power lines right there because of the substation there. So they want to get it fenced off to help with that, ease that problem too. They already got that contracted out to do that. So that's one of the issues that we're dealing with. The other one obviously is over by COS, which is the other one. Well, we started doing, fuel reduction, put a fire line basically on one side of it. We still need to obviously finish that.
Shipping today to harden it by reducing the fuel on each side of that line you put in. They were out there chipping today with the chief to reduce the fuel along.
Right.
Along that.
So right in the middle of that encampment, I don't know if you walked to it or not. I'm sure Willow could reiterate what I'm saying. Is the encampments are actually taking the brush and piled it all over their camps. So we have to move those individuals to get the rest of the fire problem out of there. They've actually got trees, brush, and everything piled all over their tents. There's what, three of them? I know there's 2 at least.
There was, yeah, I know we removed one of them entirely and left
Good.
a giant pile of brush. I effectively went through and told the other individuals to remove all the fire.
Good. Right.
So one
I
thing good
just
about that is they were removing fuel from around the area and bringing it to one location, which is
See,
kind of like piling for prescribed burn, you bring the fuel together in one place. They were actually reducing fuel, but they were bringing it to one place where you can see it in a big gob. So, it's not the answer, but.
no, it's definitely not the
And there are
answer.
no easy answers. There's no perfect place.
No.
Honestly, out in that area there, I don't see a whole lot of 106-degree shade for anybody, so it's kind of inhumane to me to put them out there with the willows. A more humane place would be, and probably not possible, would be an area like the fair with the large trees, shade and grass and no ladder field around. I mean,
Right. No,
maybe
I
that's
totally
not
agree.
possible, but that would be
But
the
they won't.
safest place to put them in a red flag day, is to get them in there where they, you have some sort of comfort for them, because they're humans too, and there's no shade out there.
Right. Yeah, we've already discussed
I
it
don't know
for
how
Cliff Months, and this has been an ongoing
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah, I mean, something like that would be, but if there's no shade, I don't know if they'll even go there, honestly,
Mhm.
because it's 160 degrees. Would
Right.
you go there?
Right. Well, right now below the dam, there's basically no shade either. So,
Yeah.
so that's obviously an
So
issue.
there's no easy answer,
No.
but, it's just a matter of trying to find the place with the
I
less risk,
agree.
and maybe doing what hardening you can around it, some lines around it, and reduce the fuels, and really go aggressively after funding to treat, put the bill. Or even if you move it down to the future site that you're working on the dirt, you still have Butcher Hill right there.
And that's why I've had this discussion already, is we still, even if our permanent location that we're discussing, we need to do some type of fuel mitigation on Butcher Hill, period. Around the towers, all the cell phone towers and all the towers up on the repeater station up there, that needs to be pulled back, brush and everything, no matter what. It needs to be done.
And
Something needs
another
to be
good thing
done.
that's coming along is the prescribed fire council, which is burning in safe ways during the good time of year,
Mhm.
which would be, that's the way to maintain it in the future. But that's the tool, that's another force tool, but that's another one that kind of scares everybody. But honestly,
Oh, yeah.
as far behind as we are, it's better to have a good fire in a good time of year than it is.
Right. Right. No, and I totally understand. We still need to, even the Greenway right now, got this suggestion something needs to be done on it before we even move the individuals into that area. We have to do some type of fire reduction in that area because there's too many grasses, too many whatever. Even if it doesn't happen, I don't, whatever happens tonight. We just need to find some type of solution of what we're going to do. We're going to have an upwards of, probably 30 individuals that are below the dam right now, up higher now. I know it keeps growing every day. Every time I drive by, there's a new car from Idaho or Montana or someplace hanging out there. But
I don't think you're ever gonna get to the solution with just fuel. So the problem is, in county and the mental health and all that stuff, that's the reason why they're by the college. They go in there for their,
Part of
their
the deal.
appointments.
yeah, there's a few.
Yeah,
that
there's
do-
a mix of all
Yeah.
kinds. So
Yeah,
that's,
but-
that's part of this. You really have to look at this as get more partners like the county on how to solve the mental health issues,
Yeah.
and that's part of them.
And that's what I do each month. I don't know if you realize I'm part of the homelessness coalition, which we meet each month discussing, trying to get services and get that to the individuals. They're just behind also. They don't have the proper funding. There's a lot more funding coming through the state, thank God, finally.
There's a lot of fuel money coming too, but unfortunately, everything takes more than this year to get.
Yep,
get it on.
Exactly. That's exactly what we run into on all different avenues when it comes to state or federal level.
Appreciate all in the acceleration and what we're doing more and more of, and it's great, and just, but yeah, I think we need to look at it as more than just a fire reduction problem. It's a social problem that now becomes a bigger fire problem for the whole.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what I've been saying from all along. That's why we're having these meetings, because we're at that point, which we should have been 6 months ago or longer. We should have been, a year ago, we should have been figuring this out. And we started the process, but unfortunately, the permanent location that we chose has had some ground issues that we're trying to take care of, and we're going to be hopefully taking care of that real soon
And then
now.
you guys have contacted, there's a Cal Fire group fuels reduction group that's up there today with the chief, they're available for a lot of work too, that can happen pretty quickly. You know,
Oh, really
It
good.
did today.
yeah, they were working
That
on
was
parking the
amazing.
fire line and up there behind the college and they're,
Oh, that's.
yeah, they can get a lot done pretty quick, and they're dedicated to that now. They
Good.
they're, I think most of the year funded to doing fuel reduction, so, you know, those shelves back there, get some projects designed and put them on the shelf, and when they walk up and say, hey, we got some people, hand it to them, you know,
Yeah,
that's
no.
getting those projects lined up, which is what we're doing with the fire safe council and prioritization, so.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we need, you know, a lot of cooperation from council and fire safe council to help with these things, you know, to give us the knowledge to move forward on some of these projects. You know, we can talk about the projects, but if we don't know, like you said, how to move forward, then we're just spinning our wheels.
Yeah,
So
getting them,
having these,
they call them, get them NEPA ready or get them CEQA ready, have stuff ready, because, you know, when the funding's done, shovel ready, and so that's, you know, that's all the work we started on, you know, many years ago. But,
yeah,
so that CWPP is your document to say, hey, we want this funding, and the
Yeah.
project's listed in our CWPP is a high priority, and that carries a lot of weight.
no, that's good. I'm glad that's ready for me to sign. So that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks,
that.
guys.
Thank you, George.
Thanks, George.
Appreciate it. All righty.
And may I say
Yes,
something really
please.
quick? I see that Chief Anso is on the line, and I'd just like to say a really big thank you for all the work that the CAL FIRE guys did. They did the whole hillside in 3 hours today.
That's awesome.
There were 20 guys on the hill and some of our guys too for.
That's great.
I think Daryl Laws is also,
Daryl was, I don't see him on anymore.
I think-
Daryl is on. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, Daryl and Chief Anso.
Yes, Don Marie.
Okay, no, don't worry. I did have a question. I don't, you know, I don't know that Cliff Munson owns the fairgrounds. I thought that was county. So why does he get to say,
County and state.
State, yeah.
yes, so why does he get to say something when our governor of this state is saying, take care of the homeless?
Well,
As I would be making a
Yeah.
call to the governor. And then the second thing is, you know, when there's a disaster and when there's, you know, the fairgrounds is evacuation center. We need a cool place for these guys to go in the next week. You can't go, you know, the library is only for the indigent and, I mean, not the old people who don't have cooling stations. The homeless people are not welcome in the library. So that might be your way in, is to make that a cooling station for some of the homeless people, and they don't have to take all their stuff. They could leave it outside and go into like Wainema Hall and get cooled down. And, you know, offered water and taken care of, because these are humans. You know, if we want to just kill them, we should line them up and just shoot them all. You know, we don't want to kill people.
No.
We want to take care of them.
Exactly.
So that fairgrounds needs to be held responsible for this disastrous thing that's gonna happen, because it's gonna be hot.
Oh, yeah, real bad.
Yeah.
And so Wainema Hall is actually being
It's leased
occupied
out.
by CAL FIRE right now.
There's more halls
Yeah.
than just Wainema.
Right. Right.
I mean, my gosh, they've got how many plots and huts out there? How many trees out there?
Mhm.
You know? I mean, just for a week, there's no reason why they can't do that right now. And that will also help get that cleared off right now, and so everybody can get it graded. And the other place, and that's another thing, you put them in the greenway, make them responsible for their area. They have to pick up their own garbage. Why can't they also help make it fire safe? They don't want to die in a fire.
Exactly.
So, sorry, I'm not yelling, I'm just mad at Cliff Munson because he is not God.
You're passionate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. All righty, so I know we got more comments and whoever else wants to step up and,
Nobody on the phone comments?
Any comments on the phone? Otherwise, maybe the chief could talk to us.
yes, I would like to hear from
Either one
both
of the-
chiefs,
either
both
one of the
chiefs.
chiefs.
Fire chief's probably more important.
Fire chief.
Yes.
Chief Jerry. He's
I
had a
like how you
busy
do
day.
that.
He's had a busy
Real
day
slick.
from early this morning brushing the hill.
Well, good evening. Here we are again. Thank you guys for sticking to it. I guess what I've come away with from all of these meetings and talking to people is there is no one size fits all. We all know that. It's a very difficult decision, and George put it so well. It is a social problem. We all know that. It creates a fire problem. However, there's only so much you can do with both relocation and creating a site. It also is, and I think Willow has probably gotten through a lot of them on being responsible. And that again only goes so far, because every once in a while you get someone that will infiltrate that same area that's been fine for a long time with no fires, and that's when you get a fire. As far as the project that took place today, that's great. It was in the works already, so it wasn't anything that was really on. It all happened really fast yesterday afternoon, as far as Steve and I went for a ride looking at these sites. Happened to see the crew, they weren't available, called Mr. Law, the chief log, and from there, things just fell into place, and it worked out great. It was in the works probably over a year and a half ago. So having said that, it greatly reduces the fuel that we have there in that area, so it won't go up the hill and get into the state responsibility area. It won't affect greenhorn drainage. Something you can fight with a fire now if there happen to be one, without taking away every bit of brush that's there. As far as other sites, yeah, there is a problem potentially with the Greenway and Butcher Hill. Now that that's out there, there's a lot of private property owners that I think we could work with. It's going to take some time, and I think that's something right now it sounds like we're probably not. We don't have a lot of. So that's going to be a difficult task. There's quite a few on that hill that need to be addressed. And yeah, it's a potential problem for the communication line, et cetera, et cetera. My thought is right now, until you get the urban campsite done, is probably leave them where they're at, because we know where they're at. It's not popular, but at least it's, right now we haven't had a lot of issues with campfire, et cetera. That's just my thought. That doesn't have to, not carry a lot of weight, but I think right now, the way things have been, that might be the best solution until you can get them, get the encampment completed. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you have, but it's difficult. It's just a difficult thing. And going forward, we have a lot of things on the horizon that we could do for fire safety. And with help of Yreka Area Fire Safe Council or partners with CAL FIRE, like I said, that happened with 2 phone calls. Put that together and got it done today. That doesn't happen. And once the crews are gone on fires, and oddly enough, by the time we got done today, I told them thank you, et cetera, and they were called to a fire, so then they were gone.
Wow.
So it just so happened that we got done in the nick of time, and the rest of the summer is going to be difficult probably to get them to participate if they're already busy on fire. So when they are available, they're willing to work, and they can get a lot done in a short time. So I think that's our key. If they're willing to do that, along with Fire Safe Council, we can get some projects done and do the very level best that we can. And we have in the past. It's just, you got to keep going. Things need to be retreated and to make it safe and keep it safe. So anyway, I won't elaborate any further on that, because I don't have anything else to add to that. But like I say, if you have questions or concerns, I'd be glad to hear any of those. Take them under advisement.
Well, I just want, if I may,
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Mayor, I just wanted to say thank you, Jerry. You guys got up there and got a lot of work done in a short period of time. And I know there were at least 20 guys up on the hill with you.
26 on the 2 crews plus almost 30. with all the
They were
support
all
staff.
over the hillside. I went by there this morning. Actually, my heart sank. I saw all the fire trucks up there. I know we had a fire. So I drove up there at the college where you parked at the upper parking lot. Couldn't see any smoke. So then I talked to 2 of the nice CAL FIRE gentlemen that were working on it, and explained to me that they were helping out Chief Jerry. And we certainly appreciate that. And I don't think that we could have gotten all that done without their help, so.
Well, we intended to do it with, in another avenue with U.S. Forest Service dozer operator to train somebody to cut the fire line. You guys obviously took the initiative and got that approved and pushed through. The removal of the brush could have been done by Public Works, but they're up to their eyeballs in jobs anyway. So the way and that's just an example of how the collaboration that we have with CAL FIRE. That's just one example of how we can make progress when we need to like that, and it can happen. You can see results pretty pretty quick.
Just one more thing real quick. So I did go by there this afternoon and I have pictures if anybody wants to see about how nice, how clear it is, you know, you can see the trees and the clumps, but the
And we left
brush.
some brush right off the road there, just
I
have
saw
some
that.
screening,
Yeah.
and there's little clumps here and there, but it is 95%.
I saw that, but you need to be aware of one thing. I don't know if you remember this morning, there was a gentleman, one of the homeless gentlemen, he was down on the road working on that old black truck.
Mhm.
That black truck is now up in the trees.
Yep. He was there this
I
week,
don't think
this last
they're
weekend
supposed to
too,
be there,
parked
are
up
they,
in there.
No, and I explicitly told him today that he's not allowed to be up there.
I
Yeah.
just left there about an hour ago and he's still there. And that worried me because I know that, you know,
Oh, yeah.
the carburetor, or whatever it is.
Catalytic converter.
Catalytic
Catalytic
converter,
converter.
that hot.
Well, he's an issue period because every morning about 4 o'clock in the morning, he goes up there and spins Brody's now. Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah. It's not pleasing. I'm getting, yeah. He goes, I just catch him at the last minute, so I can never call it in on time. He goes down this morning, he went down, hit Oregon Street, going about 50 down Oregon Street.
That
And
black truck.
the black truck with all of the, it's kind of cool graphics going on. He's got some cool looking graphics going
He
on.
was working on the trucks.
Oh, yeah, that's what, he's always working on the truck.
And then once one starts, once one vehicle goes in there,
That's what I'm
although
worried
it's pretty
about.
steep, but yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, good job. You
Yeah.
had a long day.
No, that's fine. I'm glad to do it. It really makes me feel, hey, you're getting something done. And that's what's
Yeah,
important.
well,
So,
that's,
you know, hoping someday you can get something accomplished.
Yeah.
And it never does. But that is just, you know, action. And that speaks
It's
louder than
awesome,
words.
and it's awesome that our partners at CAL FIRE, Chief Anso and Chief Laws are, and all of the 26 guys pitched in, and boy, I couldn't believe how fast they were working. I was watching. them
I
go.
told them how fresh that is. That's just one example, but there's other things that can be done if they're not available. It just takes time. So, all right.
cool, thank you.
Next chief.
I just want to say thank you guys for what you're doing and kind of reiterate what Jerry's saying. I want to make it clear what my stance is on this is I think it's just important to find a place. So I don't think, no matter what we do, law enforcement's going to be an issue. I don't think that should be on the table. They're going to still catalytic converters, they're going to break in some, a lot of them are cooperative, they're going to have vehicles off-road. But right now, we're a dog at the end of our chain because we can't do anything until we get a place.
Yep.
So while we make our decisions, please just make fire safety the number one decision.
Yeah.
I'll deal with whatever else comes from that. I just think that's the most important part.
Oh, yeah.
I was working with weed burn, I've burned with the other fire, we just gotta get that taken care of.
Yeah.
So I just hope everyone understands that the law enforcement issue of it, we'll deal with no matter where it is. We just worry about the fire safety.
We just want less issues. If at all possible, fewer issues.
Well, that's when we get the permanent location, it's gonna help with a lot of these issues because they are gonna be in a safe place. They know that there's certain, rules and regulations that they're gonna have to follow, and right now, because we don't have a tied in location, that they're running pretty much flawless because they think they can get away with anything, pretty much. And it's constant YPD is chasing their tails and just to try to keep on top of it. And it's impossible to do. So we get one location and make sure it's safe, make sure that it's properly regulated and stuff. And then that also gives us helps with the reinforcement of some of the real laws and regulations that we can say going, hey, if we have a safe place for you to go, if you're not following that, then that's on you. It's not on us. We're doing our due diligence, trying to help you. If you're not wanting to, participate, then that's on them. So,
Yeah, once we have a spot that when the chain going, I can take care of public safety.
yep.
I just wanted to say another thank you really
Yeah.
quick, both to the chief and to Willow. So Chief
Yes.
and Willow took Corey and I on a tour. And we went over to our property that we purchased over there too and saw all the work that needs to be done on that. And then we went down to the Greenway. So in my mind, at least, we have a clearer vision. I don't know how Corey feels about it, but thank you guys for taking us out there in the
Thank you.
weeds. We went out there and stomped around and looked around and saw what's already there. There's a lot of homeless people already down there.
Oh, yeah.
There
There's
were
quite a
at
few.
least 5 or 6 tents that I could see.
At least,
Steve got to,
Oh, really? Good thing he's a big guy.
Officer.
Yeah, he's not armed, but he's big, right?
I think I stood by while he did, he used his people skills.
So that's all I had. I just wanted to let everyone know that let the police issue be the bottom issue. Let's just worry about fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else?
Thank you. Alrighty, so we need to, any other discussion, anybody?
Yeah.
There you go. That works.
Vehicles keep coming up. I asked about this last time. You need a designated place for the people living in the vehicles. Designate a city parking lot somewhere, put porta potties there, provide water for them. So they could be there instead of parked up on the hillside somewhere or in front of your house, you know? That seems like the easy solution there for the people in vehicles.
Yeah.
Designate a city parking lot.
And some of them will. Unfortunately, I'm sure they can reiterate on this, that majority of them won't. The guys with the motorhomes and stuff like that are up there below the dam right now, they're not gonna stay in a city parking lot. I can guarantee you that. They kind of want to be off the little scene in their own little spot that they choose, not what we choose. But I agree though with you. I think it at least would help a little bit of it for sure. You know, if we had a better designated parking spot for them to go to, it's bound to help a little bit for sure.
With the porta potty.
Yeah, with porta potties, obviously, yeah, you have to have something there. That's one of our biggest problems right now is we should have been doing this a while back, having places, you know, for them to go and have porta potties and all this, and we would have been behind that we are so much right now, so.
Miranda, for what it's worth, that individual who's driving his truck on the hillside actually has a full campsite.
He has a what?
He has his own full campsite set up on the hill.
Oh, I saw it
He's
because
purposely driving his truck up.
he's parking right by his.
If he's so proud of that truck, why don't you guys just start at the season,
I have one.
then season?
So,
How's he accessing the property?
What was that?
Where's he accessing the property?
So unfortunately, the current pickup, he has now traded the one vehicle artwork on the side of it. Unfortunately, the pickup he's currently driving is in a 70s spur body or Chevy. And it is lifted, so he can pretty much access it anywhere
yeah.
he wants.
Okay, so we probably need to put barriers or something up there.
Well, the Jeep tracks unfortunately have just gotten beaten down.
Yeah, so like cement barriers we're not using city yard. Possibly.
yeah. He's definitely a problem individual. Yes, thank you.
So I'm Jerry Moser with the Yreka Greenway, I live in Yreka, and
I know the feeling.
the memo that was on the agenda, I just wanted to offer that the recommendations on the back, the bullet points, didn't include anything about vehicles. and Protection of the site of vehicles. We're having a conversation about vehicles. And if there, I know there's gonna be the temptation for a lot of people that are vehicle associated to go to the Greenway and drive trail or drive break in or drive down the hill.
Right.
Look at their campsite. So that's a concern I really have. The location there, any driving on those steep slopes or across the destination, we're trying to get established, is gonna be very damaging.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And then it's a high fire danger too, because like you said, with the Cadillac converters, they're pulling through there, they pull into some of the high grass areas. As I'm saying, some of that, the Greenway, we need to just start doing some fuel mitigation on it already, you know, just to help before even if this doesn't happen there, we need to get something cleaned out there because it's a high fire danger anyways, period. And we have, like you said, at least, you know, there's probably a half dozen camps there at least on the Greenway right now. And that's just an Overland Road one. You start going down behind like Forest Service and by the probation office, there's 2 or 3 more there. And Then you go on down further and there's a couple more. So it's scattered up and down the whole greenway. There's actually quite a few. And they start sneaking in and doing that. So yeah, if we keep them out of vehicles out of there, it's gonna have to be a high priority no matter what happens, period, on the greenway, because it's.
I rode my bike through most of that area this morning and was really happy to see that behind the museum, the county museum, whether we're 4 or 5 sites, there's only one.
One, yeah.
So good job. I mean,
That's well.
and they are evidently not vehicle associated though. I've
No.
never seen vehicles. So this group we've got here around the COS is primarily vehicle oriented. That's going to be a challenge.
Yep, quite a few vehicles there, yeah.
Most
Yep.
of them parked down on the street with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And all the buses and stuff that are.
yeah, there's buses, there's motorhomes, there's, we got rid of the boat though, that was good.
And another trailer.
Yeah, yes.
Anyway, the vehicle
Progress.
are a big deal.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Jerry.
How are you driving down?
On the greenway?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we could keep from, I mean, that's right now it's opened up. You can go right along the freeway behind the Automotive Service Center and cruise down that way. Alongside of
Don't
that,
tell them how to do it.
they already know. It's like it's.
Well, they can get to the bridge, right? And a lot of them can't get across that.
Well, yes and no. The one up against the billboard actually has cable running across.
Yep.
Unless you have a city key, you can't get, you'd have to do some formula to get around that
Right.
particular one. There are barricades, on a Main Street entrance as well as the actual Overland Street or Overland Road entrance. However, the other 2 entrances, do not have any barricade or any kind of, I guess, deterrent from allowing a vehicle to access.
Right.
I guess if somebody's determined enough.
Yeah, definitely. So now, might as well, do we have any more comments? Because we'll need to open this up for council comments.
Sounds like our first.
Yes.
As a reminder, callers, please press *9 to be recognized to speak to the council.
Press *9. I don't know if they can hear you or. I heard a click. Somebody. No?
Public comment at this time.
That's up.
See, the Lindsay Lasik is on there. She's with the prescribed Siskiyou County Prescribed Burn Association. She's working with Jeff Belair. I don't know if she wants to speak or not, but she's,
Lindsay?
yeah.
I passed all 3 participants to.
They have not. Okay. They don't want to talk then.
Okay, well, let's open it up to councilors' comments. We'll get into that. I know we have a lot of comments on it, so.
Well, I went, as I said to the chief, I did go up the hill today and I was really pleased to see that they were brushing that hill because I was pretty worried about that area up there. And as he said, there's just kind of the brush along the road there. And then as you look up the hill, basically you just see trees. And I think there's only one brush pile that I saw. The rest of it is all chipped, I think.
Right.
So that looks pretty safe to me, at least containable. So I was pleased to see that. Then I went down to the greenway and there's no such animal. The greenway is full of brush and that really worries me. I have pictures of both sides. The greenway that I looked at, and I took a picture of the trees along the greenway at the very beginning of Overland Road. There's one tree there that looks like it's already burnt.
Yeah.
It's black.
That's
It's black,
that
but
burned
it's
like a
standing
month
fuel.
ago.
And it's surrounding on some market.
Is it? Oh, it's a willow. Okay. Anyway, there's trees along there and there's a lot of brush that leads right up Butcher Hill. So that I have a big concern about that. Our property that we purchased and bought, I would really like to see that sped up a bit. I know we've talked about it. I know we're dealing with EPA and some agencies and I know we've been dealing with this for over a year. At least to me, but you're not sure because when we went to the property, it needs work. There's no way that you could put a tent there because there's limbs and branches and I'm not, but just, debris. Debris,
yes.
thank you. That's right.
That stuff would get cleared out pretty quickly. If you got, I guarantee we'd have enough volunteers right now that
That
would
would
get
be
cleared out in
excellent.
probably 2 days.
I would just
It's just a
love
matter
to
of
see that
getting the
done,
dirt.
and then we can start moving the dirt. But we can't even get to the dirt right now. What do you think, Corey? You were there.
Yeah, I've been there numerous times, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you have. I haven't.
We'll let Daryl speak for anybody else.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead and let Daryl speak.
Daryl? Yeah.
This is Kel McCoy. If we're referring to it's hard for me to hear. If we're referring to the 400 foothill, they could go in tomorrow and start on it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing impeding their progress. There's one limb laying down, which can be moved over onto Beacon of Hope. There's nothing impeding progress for them to go in and start removing dirt. It's not like it's going to take 30 people to go in there and work 2 days. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but it'll be a much quicker turnaround, I hope. I think the largest turnaround is going to be going out to bid on fencing, on digging the dirt out, on hauling the dirt south of Sacramento, on getting new dirt in there. I think that's what's going to take the most amount of time, because once Tyler brings in a front end loader with some kind of a jaw on it, which he has, he just pulls up all of those railroad ties, and any steel that's in the ground comes up, and he's going to do that anyway before he digs. He's not going to dig and haul away steel. So I just don't see that that's not a major issue. The major issue is EPA. I have not heard back from Alex McBride. I had a call-in to her earlier today at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I have not heard from her. I texted her a week and a half ago. I have not heard from her. So I'm just holding on that the EPA has not gotten back to her at this point in time. That is all.
Thank you, Paul.
Steve may have an update.
Well, I have an update, but part of it, I need to, we talked to Alex and the consultant that does the hazard, the testing and so on. I call her Nicole. I'm sure there's a firm name, but I just don't remember it. And I told them that we needed to get that site ready to go before, before fall. And so they're going to write up sort of a bullet list of the things that need to be done and get it to me sometime next week. They said it's probably will be an aggressive schedule to get it done by that time because of the process that they need to go through, but it has to do with getting going through DTSC, which stands for the Department of Toxic Substances Control. But there were some timelines that needed to be worked out with them before I can give you a better date. But I wasn't asking them how long it took. I was saying, what can we do to get it done before fall? So.
Well, I don't even like hearing that.
I know, I hate it.
But that's the reality. So there'll be more information next week.
I think we need to figure out some other properties then. We need to start deciding on some other properties then as soon as possible.
I have a list going here, but did you want to invite Mr. Laws?
I think that might be.
Daryl.
Yeah,
He's
Daryl?
unmuted.
Well,
He's
that,
got his hands.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Hi,
All
Daryl.
right. I was waiting my turn, but
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for the chance to speak, and just wanted to reiterate what Chief Lemus had stated earlier. This is, and I heard also, it's a complex problem with the different encampments around the city, and outside the city. And, we tend to get quite a few hostile type fires that come from those kinds of activities. And, you've all lived through them in the past. The King Fire, they're just above
We're losing you.
above the call.
We're losing you, Daryl.
Daryl, unfortunately, your voice is now resembling a bass.
You know, today we were able to get out and provide some assistance to, oh, you still hear me okay? Uh-oh. Better service here. I apologize. Can you hear me any better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to stay in one spot here. I apologize. So, you know, today we were able to get out there and help Chief Lemus out and provide some workforce to get some brush removed and hopefully reduce those fuels in those areas and the potential for starts. I would say that, you know, like Chief Lemus said, that Butcher Hill, there's some issues with having folks live around the base of it without doing some prep work and some fuel removal. And there is a concern for both Yreka City Fire and for the sheriff's office and us is the infrastructure up there on top of the hill that we probably need to do some more work around those that infrastructure. So, but you know, we're committed to helping out where we can, and you know, we hope to help in the future. And if you had any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Great. Thank you, Daryl.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on. Let's.
Thanks for the use of your men before they had to go off and fight fire.
Okay. So Debbie, I know you have some.
I do.
We need to, like I said, we need to start figuring out something instead of keep spinning our wheels. So.
Yeah, I personally don't think that the Greenway area is gonna work at all, and anyway, moving on, I support Chief Lemus's idea of leave them where they are, because they'll have the least effect on the
Well, leave them where they
property.
are, we just discussed, and that's why I was gonna, we're losing
But
the dam, so.
no,
that's
I
not-
mean, back to COS is because it's
But
gonna
that's,
be the
that has
least.
grown like twice the
Let's let her
size
finish
now.
though. Let's let her finish her comment.
Please excuse me.
Okay, but while everybody's been talking, not that I haven't been listening, I've been writing down, moms can multitask. I did think of a couple of other ideas, and although they're still not going to be the perfect place, I'm just gonna throw them out. They can be poo-pooed or whatever, but I'll save the best for last anyway. The football field at the high school, school's out, low fire risk, but it's in a residential, but that is an emergency option. The racetrack on the fairgrounds, although they are using fairgrounds a little bit.
We're using it every Saturday, actually.
Yeah, rent private property with a large building. I actually have thought of the old Thunderbird Mill. The property is cleaned up a little bit. They've got this, Mike Peters, I think. There is also a hotel at the north end of town that already houses quite a few, but that's an option to possibly see if we could rent that for a couple of months till we get our ducks in a row and rent the whole thing and use it for that specifically, because most of them are there anyway, but that also satisfies the concerns with vehicle parking stuff. And then the last one I thought of was the community center, not in it, but the parking lot across the street and the front lawn still have porta potties and everything so that the community center is not used on the inside. The parking lot isn't very flammable. There are a few trees for shade. The lawn, they could put tents on the lawn, that kind of thing, but those are a few more options that, are they perfect? No, but
There's nothing that's perfect, unfortunately.
no, there isn't. So if we could pursue some of those, but I'm not in favor of the Greenway area at all. But thank you for trying to work with us.
Yes, I appreciate that.
I don't think they wanted to burn up. either.
No, none of us
No.
do, as far as that goes, that's for sure. We're just trying to find a solution to the problem instead of reiterating the problems.
Mhm.
That's what I keep asking everybody to. Thank you so much for.
I didn't mean to
trying-
interrupt you, Dwayne, so if you wanted to ask her a question.
But the softball field, I don't know how a partnership would work between the city and the school under these kind of circumstances, but we are going into kind of an emergency mode, I think, because the high risk of fire, but the softball field at the upper part is another green area. And if it was contained on the softball field at the high school, but.
Oh, high school, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's definitely some more thoughts on, at least like I said, thank you for contributing.
Yeah, you've been thinking.
I've been thinking.
That's what I like, some people that are positive thinkers and trying to think outside the box.
But we have to go through each of those and good, bad, ugly.
Right.
Either work with them or don't, but.
I'm not sure about the Thunderbird mill. Is that cooled at all?
It's
Is it
empty.
cooled?
Yeah, all it is
I
is a
know,
slab.
it's empty, but I mean, it's a tin roof
Right.
in the hot sun.
When I don't know if it's empty or not, Mike had it rented out to storage, somebody was storing a bunch of stuff there.
Oh, okay.
He had, last time I
yeah.
seen that, he had, there's a whole slew of stuff that was in there being inside, that there's using it as storage for, I don't know, future construction projects or whatever. So I don't know, I'm highly unlikely that Mike would be receptive on that anyways, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I like the idea. though.
Yeah, but
I think that's like a perfect idea myself. Because it actually gets, it's not a fire danger, it's shelter, it gives, shade and whatnot too, so.
a storage facility crossed my mind too, but they already have issues with that. But again, temporary emergency.
Right, yeah, that's what we need to
What
look
about
at.
Shop Smart building or temporary, the Shop Smart building?
Yeah,
It's
that's,
privately owned, but maybe they could donate it for a few months for tax write-up. Just as an emergency, it's already
Yeah.
fenced.
I mean, we were
That's not a
checking
bad
into it.
idea.
And the building,
It's got a big sinkhole in
I don't know, have we actually been inside of it lately?
it. She knows.
What about, this is Councilman McCoy, what about using Discovery Park? It's up near where I live. I mean, I don't think you're going to get the football field just because of the way that the drainage is and how it can be torn up by people walking on it and living on it. They could do hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage to the camber and the drainage of the field. But go to a place like Discovery Park, you could fence it in, put people up there. You've already got bathrooms. I know my wife and I, today talked about it. Nobody wants them in their backyard, but you know what? We got to have a place to put them. Discovery Park's a good place, easy to fence off, easy to watch them for the police.
I like that.
It's in my neighborhood. I know it, but we got to have a place for them. They're not. We got to remember, out of 50 encampments that we move, probably only no more than 15 of them are going to come. The rest are going to go somewhere else. They're not going where we move them.
No,
That's why they're homeless. That's why they live where they live, because they don't want somebody telling them. But what we're doing is we're providing a place. Again, we're trying to help them, those that want it, but we're conforming with the law that has been written by the judicial system under whatever it is, Miller versus Boise. We're conforming with that to try and help them, to give them a place to go. Discovery Park is a good place for them to go.
I don't like them in a residential area. I'd rather try that motel at the north end of town.
Lower Greenport. Nobody's gonna like that, but it's perfect.
Anywhere we go in Yreka is residential. Anywhere.
yes, Mark?
If renting the property is an option or something, does anyone talk to the tribe? Right below the casino, they have all the old mill buildings that are just stick and roof, so you can plant, you can put tents, you can put all sorts of stuff, it's flat ground. A fire break would just be a tractor run around it. They also have 24-hour security, video surveillance. It's very safe, the tribe works very well with us. It is their property, it's checked on the phone. There's quite a few of those old drying sheds and stuff there. It was pretty
Yeah. Well,
To add to, I got a phone call today that weed abatement's gonna be done on that property for 4th of July fireworks, so the entire weed abatement is gonna be done on that. property.
Nice,
Good.
nice.
Thank you, Chief Jerry
Yes.
and Willow. Because I heard he wasn't gonna sign the permit until it was done. I just have a question, Mr. Mayor. I was going to ask Debbie a question. So Dwayne and I spoke with Fairgrounds, and it isn't just one person, John Murray. It was the board. It was the board of directors and the fair, and they're appointed by the state. Okay, so the board had voted at one time, a couple of years ago. They did not want, we didn't want on this, because we did ask, and it was during the heat of the summer, as I recall. And they said absolutely not. Have they changed their mind? Is there a piece of parking lot or that back
I'm not on
area?
that board. I'm on Friends of the Fair Board, not the Fair Board.
But I'm just curious.
I can serve them a drink.
Yeah.
And we-
But I'm just
And we
curious.
checked in the armory too, if you remember right, and they,
Yes.
the sheriff's department was using the armory at the time, they had
Yes.
the facility full. Waima Hall was full, and I don't know, I mean, it almost have to be like one end or the other, you'd almost have to have it, because with they are doing races every Saturday night, that is happening. I know, because I hear it every Saturday
I know, I
night,
do
it echoes
too,
over at my
yeah.
house.
But
But-
down by the corrals.
Yeah, that's what have to be like one end or the other, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, that would be more of a favorable spot for them, I'm sure.
Or even in a rodeo arena. It's a
They're
huge arena.
working
Yeah, the
on it.
one
They've got
up
all-
there, yeah.
they-
Yeah.
Grace has been
And it's got
working on it.
shelter
She's
too,
got all
yeah.
kinds of
Right.
Grants going.
I was just asking about Hibbert Field at the other end of the fairgrounds, and you said they're not.
Grace has been getting all kinds of grants and been prettying it up, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't hold too much
no.
hope in that.
But that's really close to the casino ground that
Yeah.
Chief was talking.
Mhm.
That's
And they've
a-
had vandalism problems,
Who do?
Hibbert Field.
Oh, they have vandalism problems?
Yeah.
Yep.
Already.
Yep.
Corey, you're the expert on real estate. You got any ideas?
Well,
Yes, let's hear your
Correct.
contribution.
well, we've been working on all of our real estate and all the properties we own, and we've ran against many roadblocks and problems. So I don't know. I think we've all sat down here. We've all done work. I don't think we haven't been not doing work, but when we've had an idea, it's been shot down either from one reason to another, from either it's, I don't have to repeat everything we've been through. It's been, every property has had a roadblock.
Mhm.
We worked very hard. Mayor Peg has worked hard. All of us council members have worked hard. It is frustrating. But a lot of hours have been put in. And so it's frustrating. I get doing, there's frustrations and everybody's frustrations. It's no easy solution. We're getting emails and calls constantly from residents, businesses, the problems it's going to bring, or the existing. So it's frustrating, so we do have to, I would like to see, my personal opinion is I'd like to see our, we're talking about temporary location, possibly the Greenway. Yeah, that's gonna need work in the future, but I'd rather see our energy start being put into our permanent location on Foothill to get that ready, instead of spending the money, the time for a temporary location. I like to see the work and energy and time from all of us and staff or whoever start working on that location. And then for the time being, I think just, Campus Drive has been had work done to it. I don't know, I think we just.
Like I said, I just
I don't
want to
know.
reiterate and go top of it's the camp below the dam that's grown a lot more than, if you haven't been by there, I invite you to go by there and look, and it is probably 3 times the size of what it was when it was over by Campus Drive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So if you can't kick all those individuals out of the dam area, there's no way you can house them all up there at Campus Drive right now. It's physically impossible.
Yeah.
So what
So-
about between Campus Drive and the parking lot in front of the community center?
But that's up to I don't know how many roadblocks we're gonna find on that one. I'm sure there'll be some roadblocks.
Steve, can you give some insight to that? Does the city own the parking lot or does the
No,
high
that's a
school?
high school.
High school owns it.
Oh, buggers.
That one.
Yeah.
Or possibly, like I said, it's not gonna be favorable, but probably possibly we put them at the soccer field at the Lower Greenhorn for temporary use for now, and
I actually hate that idea, but
well, I don't know.
I know.
Definitely don't. One thing, we would have to leave, we'd have to leave the gates open.
Well, you're talking about
Like,
that, you know, he brings up, what's the difference between, there's no rents over there, putting them up in the park over on Discovery, they have bathrooms.
Right.
So.
I wasn't
Oh, I was
agreeing with
saying,
that
yeah.
either.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't agreeing with that either. I just look at it as Lower Greenwood Park. I think we're
Yeah.
opening up a can of worms if we do that, because all those motor
Yeah.
homes and everything
Yeah.
there. I think we have a problem below the dam right now. That's gonna accelerate it 10 times over. Somehow the word's getting out right now
Guess so, yeah.
that we're the stopping spot now. And because, like I said, when you go up there and you see rigs from, like I said, Idaho, Montana, wherever,
Oh, yeah. there's-
it's like somehow the word's getting out that we've opened up a free spot to stay now, so.
I saw a couple in like blue van.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilman McCoy. What is our agenda item tonight?
We're working on it.
Homelessness. Is there a name on
Would
it?
you, yeah, I don't have my agenda in front of me. Go ahead and speak with what the agenda topic is. please.
Oh, the agenda title?
Correct.
The agenda
Yeah.
title is discussion, possible action, location of temporary alternate sites for homeless encampments.
Right.
Okay, so do we have any kind of, are we anywhere near having a motion tonight?
What's
We're
that?
still discussing it.
No motions.
We're
Yeah,
not
but-
near having, okay. I know this is a special meeting, I understand that. But what I'm hearing is we're going over the same things we've gone over in our other meetings. I think we need to come back I think council owes it to the public to come back with their minds made up, figure out where we're going with this. We owe it to the public to vote on it. We owe it to the public to get on with this. We've either got to poop or get off the can. And there's only two things we can do. There's two things we can do. We can leave it where it is, kick the can down the road, or we can pick another place for a temporary venue for those that want to go there. And I emphasize, you're not going to get 100% of them. I don't even think you're going to get 50% of them to go there. Or until we get the new campground, the urban campground done. But what I'm hearing right now, I appreciate what I'm hearing, but we're talking about the same things that we've talked about now for 2 or 3 meetings already. And I think that it's good, but I think we need to come up with some other ideas. I think, and we're not going to be popular. And I think the 5 of us need to understand that. We need to make a decision. Doesn't matter whether it's popular or not. We need to do what we feel is best for the homeless. Somebody, I think it was Dawn Marie, brought up, she's talking about the heat and stuff. We need to, the sooner we can do it, the better. And we need to figure out what we think is best for the homeless vis-a-vis our population. And not everybody's going to be happy. 50% are going to be happy. 50% are not. You move it up to Discovery Park in my neighborhood, I won't get reelected. I don't care. We need to do something. We've talked and talked. We've talked this to death, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect. We have talked this to death.
Yep.
And talking isn't action, and it's not getting done. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
I actually think we've come up with a few new locations tonight that need to be discussed on why they would work or why they would not work.
So let's go over your list if you want to.
Okay, the football field or the softball field at the high school, private property.
That's fine. Us discussing it isn't going to do anything. We need to call the high school. We need to call Grace Bennett at Hubbard Field. We need to call Cliff. Discussing it tonight is not going to do a thing. With all due respect, Madam Councilman, it's not doing anything. What's going to further the agenda for the homeless and the city is for us to take some action, make some phone calls, and get some things done. I love all of your suggestions. I can tell you why they're good, and I can tell you why probably none of them are going to fly. because the schools, when you got a high school that won't even cooperate with us on a pool, and they're gonna cooperate with us on homeless, you know, but the bottom line is they're good suggestions. But we need to now, it's up to Mr. Baker to start making some phone calls tomorrow.
And we need to give him directions on which ones we want him to call on.
Yes.
So that's
So-
what I'm
so
trying
let's-
to bring up.
Okay, so let's give him direction.
So let's.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's all good. So let's, high school, a few issues that you're gonna run across there. Obviously, they're gonna be starting up football training here real shortly too. Because that
Okay.
starts up real soon. I can't remember what it's like. It's in June usually.
I thought it was August.
No, it was, we started early. Well,
They train on the
last
upper
time I was in
field.
high school, put it that way. I don't know what they do now, but we started early, started double days and. all that
Okay, so
stuff.
football field's off, softball field, they're still playing right now. I know that.
Right.
So that one's off. The racetrack, Cliff doesn't want to play.
No, the racetrack would be totally off. They're
What
doing this
about
Saturday.
the south end? Where all of the
I don't know.
livestock buildings are?
Where the RVs are, where they park. the
Yeah, right now
RVs.
they got the RVs until they release those, which should be happening soon. They usually generally do it at least a month at least ahead of time before the
And they
fair.
get ready for the fair.
And that's the only thing we gotta worry about anything on the fairgrounds. I think it's a great idea that one end of the fair or the other, if we need to do, and something we do need to talk to Cliff. And so I would say that would
Give
be
him a
one
call.
direction for us to arrange a meeting with Cliff and to have this discussion again. And if that's good with the council, I think. that
Well,
would
let's
be-
ask Chief Lemus, because it's at the base of that hill. What do you think the fire risk is there?
Which location are you speaking of?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking
What hill you
And
talking
her
about?
drive,
At the south end of the fairgrounds.
South end of the
Do
fairgrounds.
you know where the parking lot is?
That
at
really quick,
RVs?
actually, that hill could be a problem. That's actually gets into South Yreka Fire District.
Right,
Okay,
that's,
So
but we still could have a conversation with Cliff. I think would be, if you guys would like that, I think would be one, at least to have another conversation with Cliff again. This has been, what, 3 years, two years ago, when we had last time with
I
Cliff?
think it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
because there's a rodeo. place
Right,
that's-
which that's the north end,
Right,
and that might be
That's the
more,
covered arena. right?
right,
yeah,
yeah, that
at least for a temporary thing, for even if it's a month or something.
yeah,
one, exactly.
I think that's worth a discussion.
I think so
So-
too.
Yeah,
It's,
that one's right there.
It's 48 days to the fair.
So we'd only be able to do it, like I said, for maybe a month, and that would be it. But at least have a discussion with Cliff.
Could we have the other property ready on South Foothill by then?
No,
You could have lied.
no.
Well, there's a lot of other things we could get done on South Foothill though, too, and that's something we need to be talking about too, is because there's a lot of the cleanup that we can be doing before we even move the dirt, so.
Yeah, take the brush out. Take
We
the
need to
brushes
work-
out.
Do we need a work day?
Yeah.
Yes,
I think that the South Foothill site, the critical path on that to where we could actually use it as a site is the soil. It's not the branches, it's not the
No.
grass, it's not any of that
but
stuff.
we could move forward though, correct?
You could do that. I'm
At
just
least
saying.
get
that-
cleaned up, so when it's
Right.
time to move dirt, we can just
Right.
jump on it, and move dirt.
But we'll have time because we'll have to put it out to bid.
Right.
And my understanding is there's even some public notice requirements, so we have plenty of time to do that. So that the site probably needs to be done anyway.
Yeah.
Just for,
Yeah, it
so
needs to be
that,
cleaned up anyways,
so
no matter
that,
what.
so that code enforcement doesn't send the city a notice.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
I hear
That would
she's
be
brutal.
embarrassing.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Deb, go on with your.
Okay,
you have a good list going on here.
Rent the hotel at the north end of town. What are our options and possibilities for a 2-month?
Are you talking about the Shasta View or whatever they call it now? It used to be the
Mountain View.
Mountain View. The behavioral health.
A running
and
pretty
Public
cool.
health already use that. They give.
The whole thing?
Vouchers.
Well, yeah, I think it's full.
We can
Really?
ask. Yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of vouchers.
Can you
too,
ask on that?
behavioral.
Steve?
I know it's full.
What am I
Yeah.
You
asking?
know it's full? Oh, fuckers.
It's residential units. A lot of people from
Yep.
Mountain View.
Happy Camp came up. That's the
Oh,
problem. A lot of people lost
after
their
the
home. to Happy
fire.
We've got a lot of
Camp.
Okay.
Happy Camp
Yeah.
has moved into this area, a lot of, them. In fact, a lot of these people who are seen floating around in vehicles are
Yep.
from
Happy Camp.
Happy Camp.
Happy Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the parking lot in front of the community center is the high school, so that's off the table. But what about the lawn there
That's ours.
and porta potties and that kind of thing?
Oh, that
community
little
center?
lawn area?
Yeah, in front of the
No, we-
theater.
The senior citizens.
No, wait a
senior
minute.
citizens use
May
it.
I ask a question? Do we have the entire community center leased out to Madrone Hospice?
Well, the community center is leased to Madrone Hospice.
Mhm.
There's two facilities there. There's a community center
And the
and then
theater.
then there's the theater. I'm
There's
trying
not much
to,
lawn at the theater though.
no, there's not.
Not
But
big at all.
Most of
So-
the lawn is around back. It's
There's-
the biggest
there's
lawn.
part-
But that's on
there's
the
parking.
community center side, which is
Right.
rented, okay.
There's quite a bit of parking out back too.
Yeah, but there are employees. I was trying to keep everything in the front so that the employees wouldn't feel threatened.
So, so I'm rephrasing that as the community theater then, and do you want to, what do you want me to do on that? Or are we moving on?
I think we're moving on because there's
Yeah,
not
I
enough
just don't
property
see
there.
All right, and did we move on from Mountain View or did you still want me to talk to them?
I'd like you to
Need to
still talk to
Still
them.
like. to
It's
talk
just a
about-
phone call.
So just talk to them about what's going on at their place.
If they have vacancies, if they're available
All
for
right.
2 months.
Well,
Yeah.
there's funding, this is, Paul's just texting me stuff too, and reminding me that there is actually,
Funding for motels.
yeah, but it's no place like home, I think it was, no, it was, what was the other one? It was,
Home
no.
safe,
no,
Project
Room Key, thank you, I know
Project
that
Room
too.
Key.
Project
Said
Room
that
Key
you
was what we've checked
Project
into
Room
on
Key.
that, because that's what they did up in Ashland and Bedford was through Project Room Key, they purchased these motels and stuff, so.
What about the old, what's the old hotel on North Main? On the right,
Across from Yreka Auto Parts.
yes.
Yeah, that one too. That one gets a lot of residential ones too, but I don't know if it's as full as,
Is it full?
that one, I don't know. That one, you see
Yreka Motel.
vehicles there,
It
but.
has a trailer park attached to
Mhm,
It
why-
does.
it. Sell water.
And it's got that big parking area out there.
and there's a chunk of property too, right next to it that Gary Allen used to own.
Oh,
That's an open lot.
I think it's.
I'm sure he still owns it.
well, Marcia owns it.
Marshall owns it now, obviously, but
I
there's that
forgot
big,
about
that big
that.
chunk of property right there too.
What's the name of that hotel? Oh, great.
I don't
Yreka
know, I'm-
Motel.
Simpson-
Yreka
Simpson's
Motel.
doing it.
Yreka Motel, yeah.
Yreka Motel, and then the other little motel we're talking about too, there's that other one.
The budget.
The budget. is
Yeah.
that what it is?
Budget.
Yeah. Used to be the Sips, used to own it.
On Overland,
Oh,
her
that's the one.
mechanic shop there, that's a park for people to park as an overflow, if you're still talking Greenway.
Which
Oh, I
part?
don't think we're talking Greenway anymore though,
Okay.
Yeah. I
because
think
of
we-
fire risk.
I want to know how you're going to get people to these sites.
They have a lot of stuff.
You know, I'm guessing 80% of the homeless is within 10-minute walk of Lower Green.
Yeah, There's a lot of.
There's parking for people with cars. There's huge camping areas on the soccer field. There's trees for shade. There's toilets there, so you don't need the expensive renting porta potties, which I know is very expensive.
They vandalized those
Yeah.
bathrooms. That's why they're not left open.
That's why.
Well, maybe you recruit some of the homeless people to be guards.
Some of them do, and some of them actually been pretty good about that, and that's why when they had them over by, when it was over by behavioral health and COS there, you had the ones that were by behavioral health and you had the ones that were by COS. They didn't really intermix too much. The ones that down by behavioral health were the ones that were causing all the problems, and the ones up by COS were the ones that were fairly good about most of it, so that was one of the big things when I went and talked to him. I'm sure Will agree. He spoke with the ones down by behavioral health. Those were some pretty rowdy characters.
On the same side of the street.
Opposite, next to behavioral health, and then you go up by COS. I got comments from those guys are like, you went down and talked to those guys down there on the lower part? Oh, those guys are bad news. So the problem is, I guess my big concern is, I know if we put them in Lower Greenwood Park, we are going to have every citizen in Yreka knocking on our door. I guarantee it. Guaranteed.
So I like Don Marie's idea of priceless foods. It's
Shop
fenced.
Smart, yeah.
Oh, yes, Shop Smart.
Shop Smart. Yeah.
It's fenced. There's parking space. They could throw their tents inside where there's shade. They might cook, but still.
Maybe
But-
there's funding from the state for something like that to clean it up and use it and lease it. I know Project Room Key, it wouldn't exactly be that because it's not like.
No, it's
hotel
not the
rooms.
same.
But it's close to the
funding, but-
services.
But it's still, yeah,
Close
I
to the
mean, it's
services.
definitely something we could, I guess, check into as far
Is
as.
their insurance fee outrageous?
It's for
And
sale.
then we had an idea real quick, sorry, to move them. You know, there's all these shopping carts that places aren't picking up.
Yeah.
Why can't we, you know, put them out there and say, you guys can use these for this time to move. When you're done moving, we're gonna take them back. And that way, you're not responsible, the city's not responsible. If they move them, they move them.
Yeah.
And these places don't wanna go get their cart anyway. So, you know,
Yeah, they use them anyway, so might as well let them use them.
exactly, that's the way, because some of these people have a lot of sense. They
Oh,
go by our
yeah.
house and it's like, did you see that? I mean, they make 4 trips.
So
Yeah.
if you'll check on price list, what's it called?
Shop
Shop
Smart.
Smart?
Bullshit.
Or do you guys agree that it should at least, it
Yes.
warrants a phone call?
Oh,
We should
I can
consider
tell.
it. Okay, and then the last one is the Karuk land that the chief was
Mark,
talking about.
That was good.
I can say chief and it fits everything.
Chiefs.
Put a plural on it.
Uh-huh.
The land below the casino.
Yep.
So, are there other,
I think that's enough
okay, so
to start with.
the stars that I have, I want to make sure that, because some of them were getting crossed off even as I was writing, so. One of them is to call the fairgrounds.
Yes, for that back.
For the back piece.
Okay, and I can't even picture where that is, but okay, I'll.
South of the fairgrounds, there's a big
You
parking
know what I'm
lot.
talking about?
South of the
We
fairgrounds.
got it.
Okay,
And Mountain View? Do I-
yes.
Do I know if we have vacancies? Budget Motel,
Mhm.
vacancies?
Yreka Motel.
Or the motel.
Yreka Motel, all right.
The Jefferson Lodge.
If it's okay, I'm trying to get from council
Yeah.
stuff.
Sorry.
Okay. So Yreka Motel, Budget Motel, Shop Smart, Crookland.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Now, is there any, can you guys think of any other locations further south? I think we need to like ponder a bit. If we're talking about possibly renting land, like we're saying, is there, can you think of any other spots south that we could do? Closer to,
Grenada.
Services?
yeah, but that's true. The hard part is like, I said this to everybody, it's like, actually, the best spot for them to be was out
By
on
you.
my shop property, yeah.
The one across the street from you has that building in it. Oh,
I
no,
know.
it's too close to the Greenway,
Which one?
the creek, the one across the
The
street.
creek,
from you, Yeah. Still Mike Peters' place, is it worth a phone call or are you sure it's rented?
I'll just
Okay.
make sure.
So I don't need to asterisk that.
Which one is Mike Peters? Is that Thunderbird?
Yeah, the old Thunderbird.
The one that's sort of 1/3 there,
Yes.
Yeah.
the metal.
Half of
The
the
one
bird
that's
down.
half burned down.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, I'll give him a call now. We were checking into
With
it.
the
I'm sure.
smart, with Shop Smart, where you think
Yeah,
that you would put them in the building or in the parking lot?
Both.
either. We need a
Yeah,
parking
the-
lot for vehicles.
Yeah.
But no building.
But no building.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be off limits. I think they need the shade.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do, especially in this.
No, I was just gonna say to rent the building, when I looked to rent it about 3 years ago, to rent a third of it, they wanted $16,000 a month. So you'd be looking at probably somewhere between 30 and 45,000 a month to rent the building itself.
He's talking about the grocery store.
For Shop Smart.
Yep.
Well,
Shop Smart, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, we
please.
might be able to negotiate because they're having to pay money to clean up the property and it needs to be cleaned again. The weeds are coming up really bad. But if we negotiated with them to keep it clean, because they're paying for that every month.
Oh,
So
trade. We
so-
like
So get it
trades.
for 35,000.
Yeah. I think they'll do a rebate. Yeah. But anyways, it's worth checking into, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just a phone call.
Is there anything even further south past all the rest of that down by Walmart
Walmart.
stuff? It's all Newton's property. I'm not sure who, actually been moving them out of there anyways. What else do we
I had a
have?
constituent make a suggestion on the property just north, same side as Siskiyou Eye Center, in that vacant land, because it would be easy to swipe clean. There isn't.
Now, is that still from Newton's or?
That's
is it just-
Newton's,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
that's Newton's property. They want to
That-
sell it to us.
Oh.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's I thought. I'm sure he won't be open to that.
Ooh, check.
Yeah, we were, I guess we could check and see.
There's not a lot of trees on that property either, is there?
Yeah, there is on that opposite side of Siskiyou Eye Center, is that what you're talking about?
Same side of the street, just
All same
north,
side.
just
Yeah,
north.
Oh,
there's
okay.
some, but there's not a lot.
Yeah, there's just a few.
You're talking about where the,
Yeah. Sign is.
the sign is, that will soon be fixed. And then on
But
that end does have trees,
If we,
but not a lot.
Right.
if we need to put them on property that doesn't have shade, I understand we will need to provide it.
Yeah.
I
Well, that's something
understand
that's
that.
easily
but-
provided, just like they were doing at Hope Village and all that stuff. They had those canopies or 10 by 20 canopies
Right.
that they put, including, tarps or whatever over the top of them. And you could put, how many were they putting in those canopies? 2 or 3?
Yeah, I think it's 3.
3 in each one of those canopies. Cause like I said, they're a 10 by 20 canopy. So that would be an easy fix
Yeah,
on something like that.
so although they don't have trees every place we're talking about,
No.
we can provide shade.
Yes.
True. And 107 to 109 degrees, we're gonna need some shade.
Mm,
But, Don Maria's right, we're gonna need a cooling center too.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, that's-
know, do we have a cooling center? I think the fairgrounds has provided that in the past.
And when can we invite the churches to help resolve these issues?
July.
Uh-huh.
July 1. July 1.
Yeah.
He knows what's, after the first of July is actually.
Well, I actually think that there is, I'm not sure, not sure that right now there's there are a lot of problems that the churches had when they were opening up for homeless.
Winter warming.
And then the churches basically, because of COVID, really couldn't do it even if they wanted to. It just didn't work. So there is a possibility that there could be a dialogue open with the churches. I guess that there's not a ministers association here. There have been that association in the past, but that's not something current. It may be useful to have for lack of a better term, a faith community meeting to talk about, some of the churches, this is part of their core mission, is to serve people in need. And they all have different ways of doing it. But it may be worth trying to get together with them. I know that we talked before about having a group. I think that needs to not come from staff, to be blunt.
Right.
I think that needs to come from the, candidly, probably the mayor, or if one of the other
I think that's
of
something.
you wanted to take that on. And I think it's not just homeless, that I think having the faith community work together, and they do. But it's not a broad scope is what I understand. And I could be dead wrong. Maybe they are working together. They're behind the scenes.
I don't think, like you said, I don't think they've reassembled
I don't think
since
so either.
the falling out that they had a few years ago of not getting together. So I think it's
Yeah.
something now, though, it could possibly be readdressed, though.
I think
That's
it would be
something
a good time to.
I will
Just
check into
see.
that since
I mean, we can provide information about, who the pastors are if we know.
I can get,
But-
yeah, that's easily done.
A suggestion maybe just came to mind is, what about the new owners of the Penberthy property behind, like that new Chevron taking like an acre, asking if we lease an acre of
That's where the
that.
Arby's is
That's that.
going.
No, it's not. It's going on the other side.
Other side,
But they got to go through building. That's not going to happen till next year.
yeah,
We're talking about the next, month or two is what we're saying.
right.
What about that back section behind the Chevron that's on the corner of Moonlit bring them down.
Like,
flat
like
right
what they
there.
used to be doing. I think, no, I think that's probably a really good idea.
I'd like
because
chief's input. Is that safe enough?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I think
That's pretty,
there's some brush that Evans piled up on their
There is.
behalf the other day,
I
but
took a
that
picture.
can be dealt with.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you
I-
just cordon off.
That flat
sections
spot
where
right there.
Yeah.
No, I like-
Can you do,
Yes,
reach
Matt?
out?
I drove that this afternoon after the chipping happened. I want to go see it, how nice. And on the turn, right where you're talking, coming up like south
Right,
Yeah,
on campus and down the
Right.
turn to Movement. The topography there is such that I got out of my van and walked around and walked out onto Penn Murphy's because you can't really see it from the road. There's a flat that goes back, that's cut back in the corner that Corey's speaking to. And I had that exact idea today, Corey, was
yeah,
we asked the new owners of Pine Mountain Realty.
yes, that's,
If that would be an option, and then if we are looking towards purchasing shade structures, I don't know how much money that is, but if there's not shade, we could make shade.
I like that.
I like it too.
I like that.
They've
best
used
out
it
of
in the
everything
past.
So far.
who's that area?
I have to analyze. I'm a Virgo, so I analyze and think about everything. If I'm quiet, it's not, I'm not. Anybody. I have
Well-
to see, I have to absorb everything.
Well, it's one of those things too,
Yeah.
that has not been on the table because of the past. Now it's a new ownership. Now it's something.
And
that's-
Chief Jerry, you met with her, right? One of the representatives that she was very forthcoming
We
about.
didn't get into the discussion we're having.
Well, no.
Right.
But no, she's, I think, she's approachable, yeah, I can give you all her contact.
Especially since
Okay.
it's temporary. We're
So
not
the-
asking for.
Right.
Temporary lease,
Until our
yeah.
property's cleaned up.
Like I
Did you-
said, she is willing to, she wants to know what the community needs, and I think based on that statement alone, you have a foot in the door.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
agree.
glad to help.
I agree.
Help you out with that conversation.
Let's,
Okay.
so, yeah, well,
And Bussy.
yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly, that's what I'm looking
Right.
at too, because I know
Yeah,
that can be
drive
controlled
right
very
through it.
easily, very
Oh,
easily.
yeah, because I drove back with cash.
Postal
through there, yeah.
services.
I definitely like that out of all.
I do too.
Yeah.
I believe it may also be able to accommodate the vehicle question.
Oh,
So if
oh.
we provided shade and allow vehicles there,
You would want vehicles driving out in that field?
if it's the best option, it's on.
You'd have to take all the
It's-
brush
It's
out.
not really a field, I got out. and
There's
walked
no
it.
brush there.
It's
Yeah,
not,
it's
it's
open.
Oh,
perfectly flat, it's rocky,
so right at the curve.
right there.
If you were to go
Park at the
straight off
curb and
of
walk
Campus
to the
Drive,
south,
and just shoot
that
straight
parcel,
out.
It's cut back into the hillside,
Uh-huh.
flat. It's been ripped up with a cat. when it was the mill.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
the cat went through there, right?
Up above it.
Above that,
Above
fire
it.
rate's above that.
Yep.
which is- makes it even better.
So there's even, yeah,
It is, but a week ago, Tyler Evans went through and actually did the fire break, so he actually did a triple pass with his cat,
Yep.
or his dozer through there also.
Yep, so no, it's a lot safer.
That looks good
Boy, that'd be awesome.
That would be a lot.
and easy,
Yes.
So I-
maybe. Is that Converti's property?
They sold it.
It's
They
still
sold it,
ours.
yeah.
No, it's not ours.
Yeah.
either.
Well, I know, but I meant, is that the location where Converti's property used to be before they sold
Yes,
it?
it's-
Okay.
So the new owners are the same developers that are.
People
doing
still call it Penberthy's.
the
forever.
gardens.
Oh,
Forever.
yeah.
That's what everybody does around here. They
Well,
refer to
Converti's
things
were
of
the owners.
80
but-
years ago.
But before that, it was Pine Mountain,
Yeah,
the old lumber mill.
I like that.
So I
I'm
do
very
too.
that was
hopeful.
Penberthy's.
So let's,
I know.
with your guys' permission, let's set up a meeting. I would like to set up a meeting with two of us and new owners and see if we can talk to them about it.
Okay, probably a phone call at this point because they're
Right.
relatively distant.
Because, and then in regards to that, then would there be any funding that if we did it, like say,
Not that I'm aware of.
so we can't, there's no funding that we could say,
I didn't say that. I
okay.
said not
That
that
you're
I'm
aware
aware
of.
of.
Gotcha. Okay, so
Yeah.
Retta would be the person to talk to on that one. Okay,
So,
Um,
Mr. Mayor, I'd suggest that you and the mayor pro tem have
Yes.
that conversation, if she agrees.
Sure.
yes, I'd love to see that. I think out of all the suggestions,
Please.
I mean, it's done, we still want to move forward on just checking some of those other suggestions out.
Right.
Yeah, but I'll start with that one, I think.
I think it would be a,
Because that's my
I think that's the
Number
most
one.
suitable out of all of them right now. It's least
Yeah.
fire danger.
Then we won't
It's-
waste Steve's time. Steve's
It's,
time.
yeah, I think that's worth pursuing. out of
It'll
all of
probably be other staff members that actually make the calls.
What?
So
Okay,
let's start with that one.
Arthur, Talking about you?
Yeah.
Or
So
Brad.
when can we get together with the chief?
And you're like, which chief?
The
Chiefs.
chief.
The Chiefs. Oh.
Well,
Are you
You
in?
can't see, but he's.
Are you
So-
available tomorrow? We can meet him at his.
I'm tired. Tomorrow. What else we got?
You gotta follow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? There's some people that need to be called here, and we need to talk about it at the staff level. Knowing that the number one is to try to work out getting in touch with the Penberthies. We'll coordinate your schedules. And then also try to talk to them and see when they're available. Tomorrow's Friday. You probably aren't available, but maybe we shoot for Monday, Tuesday next
Yep.
week if they're available. Okay.
Yes, please.
All right, so we'll do
And then the
that.
chief's available.
Sure, yeah,
They
Yeah.
both said yes.
Sunday for the trip to do the final on the water.
Oh, that's
Oh, the water
Oh.
But I am
tender.
here tomorrow.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll talk probably right after this. Depending on how late you stay.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, is there any more suggestions?
Got a bunch.
Yeah.
Is it-
Good.
I know.
Really good.
Anybody else have any reservations or ideas?
Yeah, speak now, please, if there's
Please
any,
speak
before we
up.
start moving forward on anything.
Or forever hold your peace.
That's right.
So the south end of that property is at Alton Road, right?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
There are a bunch of
There are
trees over
houses.
there that have been cut up in the past for fire damage.
Oh,
There's a bunch of trees over there at the north end of that property,
the north.
against Alton Road.
You're-
I mean, sorry, the south.
South end.
South.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
There
Yeah,
are a bunch of trees that are fairly mature that could provide shade. It has cleared fairly recently. And fire line is still above that.
Yep.
The other place is just open, it's just flat open.
Right.
which is
No shelter.
no shelter. But like I said, I think we can come up with,
Yeah,
those
temporary,
canopies, those
yeah.
Costco canopies are like dirt cheap. At least they used to be. I don't know what they are now.
$100, something like that.
Yeah.
The big ones.
Yeah.
$100.
I am very hopeful.
Yeah, me
Yep.
too.
So,
Good job.
Okay,
so there was a discussion about funding.
yes,
And
have Chet.
I think that the reality is that at this point, you need to think of the money, so the project that you're looking at is immediate.
Yes.
So you're not going to find a funding source immediately that's other than the general fund deposit. probably.
I guess what I'm getting at is, if we're needing to rent that property.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
And what I'm telling you is that it would probably be out of general fund reserve.
Okay. But it's a possible doable thing though, obviously. We need to.
Yeah, it's a public service.
Mr. Mayor, I was just curious. I know that you're the chair of the advisory committee for the homelessness, and I know that you work really closely with behavioral health and public health. And I know that both of those agencies have actively been writing grants. Do you know if there's any
So there would be
funding
some.
available now? Because I think they've been in the process of getting.
We
funding.
could probably get some money out of there because there's some stuff that they could shuffle around possibly. But it was, the main thing is with this all in mind is we need to have a direction. That's been our biggest problem from get-go with them. Obviously I talk to them on a regular basis. If we give some type of direction and say, we are going ahead with this, which we started to with the permanent location, then we can start just like anything else. You got to have something there to present it. If you don't have anything to present to them, they're not just going to hand you money. So we have to have something to work with, just like with Beacon of Hope, what they're running into is they have a building, but they still haven't been established enough to start receiving some of these government fundings and grants and whatnot. And that's, we're kind of at the same stage, till we get to another stage, then we can do it. But if we get some direction, yeah.
So let me suggest that at the staff level at this point, what we will do is make these calls that you asked us to. If you want to separately talk about what funding is available, that's fine. But I agree that until you have a project, it's going to be very difficult to do that. And I actually think that the partnership with the counties, with local nonprofits that are providing these services, even with the faith community that you brought up, are going to be critical, but I don't think that's the first step. I think the critical path is where at this point. And so we'll look at those things.
Perfect.
And okay, so that, and in the meantime, obviously, there are going to be people up on Campus Way at the point where Pacific Power has their fencing contractor come in. There'll need to be some movement from that location out because we told them when they moved there, it was a temporary location.
Right.
So we'll see how this comes. If this takes a while, I think that you need to know that we may be back in exactly the same position we're at now with exactly the same options. That will be triggered by the need to move them essentially away from the critical infrastructure of the power station, but also move them out of the environmentally sensitive area right next to the creek.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that's on everyone's idea that, you know, probably not moving away from COS, but we need to have some movement away from the site by the power,
Yes.
whatever that is, substation. I think.
Substation, yeah, plus
Okay.
that's like you said, there's our infrastructure on that with the Greenhorn Dam and everything else that we gotta keep in mind on that aspect
Well,
too.
it's a place that won't be available after
Yeah,
that
there's too
happens.
many dangerous levels.
It's something that we looked at before in terms of a site, and I think the only reason that people went there was that we were taking some actions and needed a place, and that just happened on fairly short notice with minimal decision making. And now you're looking at doing more decision making
Yeah.
and kind of addressing it
Say the least.
more, not sure, comprehensively. Okay.
All righty, any other public input? And any staff or anybody's input? Because you'd speak now, because we need to adjourn this meeting.
That'd be great.
Any councilmen, more comments?
No, I think that we came up with some good alternatives. Hopefully, one of them will turn out. Sounds like maybe the Penberthy area might be best. We'll
Yeah.
see.
I think so. I think at
Yeah.
the stage, especially the migration path that would be taken would be the path of least resistance.
Yeah, I agree. Agree.
All right, well, with that in mind, meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.